Morning. Good morning, Pikachu. Super hyped for LUTI. You're not hyped. You just want me to think you are. I would look forward to that, A-scene. If you were to be so inclined to do so. Owen, when was the last time somebody from IPL watched one of these things live? You have no idea the things I've been saying. I've been spewing all kinds of anti-IPL nonsense that nobody has been paying attention to. Toma, subscribing to yourself. So meta. Tell Grace, I don't care. Fire me. Who you gonna get to replace me, huh? Who's gonna be the next host of the Popcast once I get fired, huh? I know, you narked, Toma. You snitched. That's what you did. As soon as my wife showed me the screenshot of my own ping and announcement, I said, who sent that to you? Because I know you didn't just look at the Low Ink channel and see that yourself. Like, somebody narked. And I... Hoenn is a notorious narker, snitch, is constantly leaking things to my wife. It's like, here's what your husband said today in the IPL server. So, as soon as I saw Miss Popgun say something to me about the Valentine's Day post, I knew somebody snitched. I didn't know who specifically, but I know she didn't find that on her own. And it was you! Man. Ask only Low Ink band players to be my Valentine. Hey, I deserve the best. Miss Popgun's been a guest. She's been the only in-person interview that we've had, like 200 episodes ago. I wonder if she would want to lead an episode of the podcast. That'd be interesting. Like, be a host. Not so much a guest, but a host. Oh, she's just not really involved with Splatoon anymore, or as much as what she was before. Is April Fool's is on a Tuesday this year. I think the year that Monday was April Fool's, we had JPEG as a guest host. Hello, comrade. Comrade Spull. Keon, do you have season tickets? I see you post, I guess during the playoffs is more the thing, but I've seen you post a lot of like in-person shots of you at the Wolves games. We've lived in Indy for over 10 years now. I have yet to go to a Pacers game. The one-off ticket. Is that a pretty affordable kind of thing? Because whenever like somebody who I assume doesn't go to NBA games, they'll talk about like, oh, you got to spend $200 on tickets and $400 on parking, and then the hot dogs $50, and it's like, is it? Like, I've been to one NFL game with the Colts since we've been here, and it was a pleasant experience all around. I mean, it wasn't like cheap or anything, but it was still like $20 for parking. Nice restaurants before you even go inside the building. It's like, you don't have to sit there. 50 each, less than 50 each. And that's the thing, like you first level seats, okay. Yeah, that's great. that's great. $11 parking, $50 for first level stuff. That's great. Oh, okay. So yeah, I understand. The Wolves had 2 starters out. The Wizards have their entire team out for like the past 3 years. What, ever since the Wall era ended? Or I guess when Bradley Beal was just there, they weren't really accomplishing much. College basketball is where it's at. It is. Oh, we're going to have to do your stupid March Madness thing again, aren't we? The one where all the stupid Purdue kids always go all in on Purdue, and then that's the one time Purdue actually does something good in the bracket, and then it's like, well, I didn't pick Purdue because I'm smart, but all these stupid Purdue homers did, and they just auto-win the challenge. Do you see the video of the guy getting thrown out of the Wizards game? He was like right behind the Wizards bench. I saw that on Reddit. The Wizards, when they had John Wall, Bradley Beal, Gortat, was that the bald guy they had at center? They had one of the Morris twins and Otto Porter Jr., I believe, at the 3. That was a fun team. I rooted for that Wizards team. They had like no help from the bench though. It was just like that starting 5. Is Wall even in the league anymore? I don't know. Washed out, it happens. That dude could fly. friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, while you are dusting off your old free agent posts, putting Tower Control Shipyard into your tournament map pools, trading away your once-in-a-generation superstar in the prime of his life for a bag of peanuts, whatever it is that you're doing right now. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Man, look, this is a Splatoon podcast, but I couldn't help but think of poor Nito as I woke up yesterday. I looked at my phone and saw probably the biggest North American sport trade of all time that seemingly came out of nowhere. And I just think of Nito and every other Dallas sports fans that is a part of our Splatoon community, and my heart just goes out to you. How your GM just doesn't get fired right then and there is beyond me, especially as news is coming out about like how there was more that was originally on the table, like they were going to get Dalton Connect in another first rounder, but then the Lakers GM was like, Luka fat, so you need to give me like less, or I need to offer you less stuff. And he was like, all right, man. And it's Super Bowl week, so that's awesome. I'll be watching it. I'm not protesting the Super Bowl. I don't care how many flags they throw. I'll still watch it. We got a lot to get to today, so we are going to hop right on into it. News of tournaments that may be of interest to the casual listener of the Popcast. It is LSL week, which means I got to wear my Little Squid League hat next episode of the Popcast. It's going to be taking place on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Next week is Lowink. It's Lowink weekend and Speed Ladder as well. Lowink and Speed Ladder happening at the same exact time. That's okay. I already had someone in help desk saying, are we going to change the date of Lowink so that we don't collide with Speed Ladder? No, we're not. If we push it off next week, we're going to collide with LUTI. We push it off the week after that, we're going to collide with something else. And we're already colliding with like 50 other tournaments every day. You're going to run over somebody just by thinking about running a tournament. You're going to run over somebody else. There's so many tournaments going on right now. It's impossible. You just have to pick a date and run with it. And we picked this date 2 months ago that everyone, well, not everyone, but at least LUTI staff members had access to the calendar that we kind of shared the Lowink dates ahead of time. So and them running Speed Ladder during Lowink is not an issue at all. They did that last season, and Speed Ladder wasn't hindered because of it, and Lowink wasn't hindered because of it. There was a handful of alpha teams that went off and played in Speed Ladder, and life went on. It's like those two tournaments can coexist. They have to in this day and age. I'll talk more about that a little bit later, but I wanted to at least throw that out there. Yes, I'm aware that Speed Ladder and Lowink is going at the same time. That's nothing new. Also, Big Dapple is going on this weekend. Do I reach out to someone from Big Dapple to see if I can get them on the podcast on Monday? Not like a guest. Like I've brought on people who've like gone to the Big Dapple before to like get their reaction. I believe we talked to Cactus last time. I think it's time we reach out to one of those TOs and try to get them on to the Popcast and see if we can talk about the Big Dapple going on this weekend. So that Little Squid League. Lots of good stuff going on this weekend that may be of interest to you. Today, we're going to be taking your calls about the upcoming LUTI season. If you want to talk about it, if you want to talk about anything else, you can always come on and talk to me. Unless you're weird and like talking into your pillow because you live in Europe and you should be asleep right now. But we're going to be taking your calls talking about the upcoming LUTI season. We're going to open up the phone lines a little bit later, but so all that and more. But first, Gatorland's happening that day. Man, I can't believe Big Dapples is running over Gatorland. It always it almost never fails to happen. Whenever the community is just right at its peak amount of everything is doom and gloom, the community's over, we're dying off, there's nothing that's going to, it's just over. Just doom posting about the scene as a general. It never fails that whenever that is happening, LUTI just magically shows up and saves the day. And all of a sudden, the conversation switches from there's no teams, there's no content, there's no anything going on to here's my free agent post. Hey, who's looking to make a team? Oh, this is my first time playing in LUTI. I'm so excited. I need 3 other people for this. Nothing jolts life into the community like LUTI. Nothing moves the needle like LUTI. When I had Magic on for the first episode of the podcast that was on IPL, and he was very critical about a lot of things in the community, he mentioned a couple of tournaments that he thought were doing a good job. And I threw out there, what about LUTI? And his response was basically, what about LUTI? Come on, you can't just poo-poo LUTI away. It's the tournament. Nothing moves the needle like LUTI does. Almost 2,000 players the last time that this tournament took place. We'll get an actual number count for however many are signed up for this season a little bit later here, but LUTI is a big deal, whether you want to believe it or not. And what were some of the things people have been complaining about about the community the last couple of months? We don't have a whole lot of teams in this community. Well, all of a sudden, you got people that are signed up already that I'm looking at and are like, wait a minute, that's the same group of people that played together last season. Maybe they got a different name, or maybe the same name. They just added like Nouveau at the end of their name, or for Charlie or something like that. And you start to realize, and this is something Pika said on the podcast a few episodes ago, we do have teams in this community. They're just calling themselves Pickup so that they don't have like responsibility or anything like that, I guess. There are a lot of teams. There's a lot of teams in Europe, as we'll kind of look at in the zone later on this episode. We'll look at that. There was a lot of really strong European teams that hopefully are going to be finding their way into LUTI. But there are actually a lot of teams that are out there. We're starting to see them come alive in this LUTI early period of the LUTI signups. But what about the top teams? That's what people are actually talking about, right? Where's the Starburst, the FT Wins, the Moonlights of the world? Well, in the first couple of weeks or days, the signups been registration opened. Kyo and Chara have joined a pickup. Okay. Black Lotus, a team that is never gotten enough love, but is a team that is arguably better than Moonlight at this point. I think they beat them in the most recent In the Zone tournament. They finished second place. I know that much. They're signed up for this one. You got those two teams already signed up. Would you like to see more? Yes. Would I like to see some sort of Zenith Goss conglomerate, Atomic, and Yoshell? Yes. Something like that would be nice. Would I love to see Moonlight in there? You know, I would love to see Moonlight in there. What about Vanguard and one of those new teams? What about some of these other strong French teams that were playing it in the zone the past week? Wouldn't it be nice to see some of them mixed in here? Traditionally, we haven't seen a lot of the big dogs play in LUTI Division X because, quite frankly, there's no reason for them to do so other than exposure and the possibility to create content, but we haven't seen them really take advantage of any of that exposure or try to create any kind of content out of it. But we're just coming off a scolding from Dude talking about how we don't spend enough time making content. Isn't that what this LUTI thing is designed for? Like, maybe we haven't been taking advantage of LUTI in the past for what it could be, but when you talk about wanting to create content, this is a free 2-month period to where you can create content. Just take your tournament sets, upload them on YouTube, keep your voice chat in there. If you want to edit out like your dirty words or something like that, so be it. But keep your voice chat in there. It makes the video more interesting to hear the emotion behind the set going on at the same time. as what's actually being played rather than just silent gameplay audio. LUTI Tonight coming back. Now, here's my question. I knew LUTI was coming back. They reached out to some of us folks who's been seeding pretty regularly, I believe at the beginning of the year or the beginning of the month. Did they reach out to LUTI Tonight and let them know? Because they're cooking with a lot of different stuff already. I hope they had like a heads up that like they didn't find out LUTI was going on at the same time everybody else did. I didn't know what time it was going on, and the answer is already kind of spelled out there. No, they did not reach out to LUTI Tonight. Their number one promoter of all things LUTI related, Splatoon tourney, the main people creating content for this tournament, where everybody should be creating content for this thing. But man, it's so easy. Post your tournament sets. Make highlights of the tournaments, of your own like personal thing. If you want to talk about, I spend a lot of time talking about LUTI during the season, but there's so much that I don't even touch. There's so much I don't even touch. Like, you can make predictions. You can post a video of your predictions for each one. You could do I'm just going to spend an hour talking about Div 7. Like, I'm just going to do a deep dive into all things Div 7 and talk about it. There's so much content that can be spared about this that people genuinely care about. There is a huge audience for something like this. And it's a great opportunity to take advantage of it. So we need to approach this season with a content farming attitude. Why not? We've never really done that in the past with LUTI, but it seems like this is kind of the right opportunity to do that. There's so many teams, storylines, drama. There's just one tiny issue with LUTI. One thing that when you start thinking about 20XX and Ink TV, it's like, well, DivX could just be that. Like, that could just be what DivX is of LUTI. A couple of times a year if it came down to it. There's one tiny issue that separates LUTI from those big dogs that we talked about. LUTI is so damn long. It's so long. 5 weeks of group play, plus the 1 week of makeup, which most of you are going to play most of your matches during the makeup week because the other 5 teams in your group are all morons. And that, if you survive that, if you're in a division that is 48 teams, which is the vast majority of the divisions have 48 teams, that's another 4 weeks of playoffs on top of that. That's 10 weeks. It's a grind. It's a long time versus the other league like Ink TV or 20XX, which the whole tournament lasts a grand total of 4 weeks. That's it. 3 weeks of group play, then all the playoffs in one day. So 4 weeks versus 10 is a long time for this thing to go on. And I think that's where a lot of us just kind of stop caring. Like, yeah, you make the playoffs. Okay, cool. I genuinely don't care too much about the playoffs just because I've lost interest in it. It's just like, okay, you're a Div 3 team, but that was a month and a half ago when you were given the title of Div 3. Like, you're a completely different team at this point. You've probably added a new player to your roster, so like it's not even the same team the seeding council saw a month and a half ago. Like, it just drags on for a long time. And Splatoon teams change so much over the course of a LUTI season that it's hard to kind of keep up with all of that. There's one thing I want to dispel, though. The narrative that a lot of teams drop from LUTI, which is a narrative I've been kind of promoting here on the Popcast before in the past. It's something that everybody's kind of aware of. When LUTI divs drop, you'll see a lot of teams just say, we're disbanding. We found out that we're Div 3 and that wasn't what we were looking for, and we're not going to make it together, so we're falling apart. You do see some teams do that, and it is kind of cringe when they do that. I did actually look at the numbers, though, from last season of who all officially made it to the challenge, like your team is booked into your division and you're ready to play your sets around. How many teams dropped during that stage? So here's the numbers that I was able to pull up from challenge. I counted 561 teams that played last season. That was, now that's, if you look at Division 10, which was the bottom division, it's not an exact number. You'll see some teams listed there as team dropped 1 or drop team 2. Like, those are just placeholders because you can't magically get a number that's divisible by 6 across the entire LUTI scope. So 561 teams. Of those 561 teams, 71 of them dropped. Now, 71 teams dropping is a giant number. But when you put it into context of the 561, that's only 13% of the teams. And again, this isn't 13% of the teams dropping during the Swiss round of lowing. This is 13% of the teams dropping over the course of a 6-week period. It kind of makes sense that you're going to get some drop-offs over when your tournament lasts that long in the group stage. And 13% isn't really that high of a number. I think when we think about drops in LUTI, you would think it would be way larger than 13%, but it's not. Now, the rate changes based on how high of a division that you are in. For example, Division 3 is a bit of an outlier. Division 3 had 7 teams drop in it. Well, there's only 24 teams that play in Division 3, so that is roughly 30% of the teams in Division 3 dropped. On the flip side, the lower divisions, which are massive, had much lower drop rates. Division 9 in particular also had 7 teams drop in it. The same number of drops as Division 3. The difference being Division 3 has 24 teams. Division 9 has 96 teams in it. So of the 96 teams in Division 9, only 7 of them dropped. That's 7%. 93% of the Division 9 teams played it all the way through the group stage. Now, there's a deeper dive that you can do in that for sure, much deeper than I care to go into at this point. But I will say this. I completely understand why the higher divs have a higher drop rate than the lower divs. The higher you climb up the rungs of the ladder, the more pressure there is for you to get results and to get results quickly. And if you are starting to figure out that you're not going to get quick results with the people you're grouped up with, I completely understand people pulling the plug on the project or the pickup or whatever and saying, just give me 05. I need to get off of this before like this roller coaster ride gets any worse. Because if we just keep losing week after week, my ability to get into a plus server goes down. My ability to keep my standing in wherever it is in the community goes down. There might be less people that want to send out pickups with me. I totally understand that narrative. Versus the lower level end of the scene where you got likely one person who's grouped up with 3 other friends to make a team of 4 and they add in some more people along the way. And there's no real pressure for them to get results. Like if you're in Div 8 or Div 9, most people don't think very highly of you anyways, in the sense of like, oh, this team is a threat to win some kind of tournament. You can get up to that point you can get up there eventually, but there's no pressure to get results quickly. So if you go 1-4, 05 as a Div 9 team, you're probably just looking as like, damn, that sucked. Well, let's go scrim on Monday. Let's just go back at it. And that's not I'm not calling anybody out in particular. That's not a Splatoon thing. That's how the real world works. In your careers, as you climb higher up the ladder, the next step up to the next step of the ladder is always more difficult than the one that you just took. It's always going to take a little bit extra to keep climbing that way. And I think that's why a lot of people just kind of get like the mid-levels and the divisions and all that conversation just kind of like completely out of focus. It kind of loses its meaning there. But my point being, I don't condone people dropping, but I'm also not going to condemn them because I understand. I understand where that's kind of coming from. But for the whole, 87% of the teams that played in LUTI last season finished out the group stage. 87%. So maybe a lot of people drop from LUTI narrative just doesn't hold water when you actually look at it. Yeah, there'll be a team they'll drop after getting their butt spanked in round 1, and they'll disband. That happens. And I think we focus on that and apply it to a number that is much higher than what actually appears in reality, because 87% of teams are playing all the way out across all the divisions combined. It also hints to me that the narratives about divisions being more important than the tourney might not be true, which is an idea I've peddled here on the Popcast many times in the past as well, that more people care about what number that they get attached to their name for 10 months at a time versus how well they actually do in that tournament. Maybe that's not the case as well. Maybe that's changed a little bit too. I kind of alluded to this last season, how if you are Div 4 and below, you care about what your div is. But if you're Div 3 and above, you don't care, and nobody else really cares. It's what kind of plus server are you in? How many Send Queue points are you? Like, are you a Leviathan or a Silver Diamond or whatever? Like, those seem to hold more weight than, oh, I was Div 2 playoff team. Okay, cool. What have you accomplished today? I think more people care about that. I think the divisions hold more weight when it determines which one of these 200 tournaments are you eligible for or not. But that might never change. Who knows? By the way, yes, I'm on the seating council again. Along with Randy Price, Half brought on last year, did a great job. Didn't do so good in the fantasy bracket I saw today, but it's good to have somebody who spends a lot more time with the better players than what me, Roundy, and Parias have ever spent time with in the past. It's good to have like a wide scope of skill levels on the part of the seating council. And I'm sure there's other people, they might add some more. I have no idea. That's not my job. But I'm honestly looking forward to seeding this season. Not because I want to break the hearts of people who have div estimates in their bios. No, like I'm genuinely looking forward to this because they added something that I begged for them to add on this podcast about a year ago. It's on sit down now. Yes. That makes things so much easier. You guys have no idea how much easier, how much more efficient seeding is going to be this year versus what it's been every other year in the past. Now, the rough draft that we can get of what divisions are going to look like, it's not going to take us a whole week to manually put together a rough draft. We see it real time, live. Toasty updates the sheet for us every night, and we can see how it's constantly changing. And I'm like, yes, this is awesome. Now, you can't look at it right now. You can't start seeding right now until it closes. You need everybody to sign up first, then we can get an idea of what things look like. For example, if you were to look at the projections right now, and it's going to be annoying all week long because people are going to point this out once they start doing the math and start counting down by 24 every single time. But if you were to look at projections right now, the Lost Inklings are currently projected to make Division 1. Forget the Lost Inklings threatening to win Low Inc. They're now a dark horse contender to make 20XX next season. That's okay. So it's like, all right, it's a little bit too early to be looking at these things. But again, it makes it so much easier for us. Look, I can look at a team. Oh, Keo and ProChar on this. Okay, cool. DivX. 1 down, 560 more to go. That's easy. There's so many pickups. There's so many teams that put down a lot of random useless crap on their application to where it's like, I don't know who you are, and I don't have time to play detective with all 501 of these teams. Well, I get a snapshot. I get a rough estimate of what it looks like, and then I can do a deeper dive and be like, okay, that you should be down a division. This team should be up. No, this team's placed perfectly fine. Like, we get a whole week to do that. And that's going to make things so much simpler on our end. I'm not saying the divisions were bad in the past. They just took a lot of work. And I'm old. And my son is starting to speed up. He's starting to catch up with me. This is going to make things so much simpler. I'm not saying we're going to spend less time doing seeding. Actually, we are. We are going to do less time during speed. We're going to spend more efficient time doing seeding this upcoming season, which is what I'm looking forward to. It's going to be fun. Pro tip. Here's some things not to do, or things that the seeding council doesn't really care about that you think we might care about, but really we don't. A lot of your egos are going to get hurt in this little segment here, but I'll try to get through it. Number 1, do not put copium sets in your bios. Copium sets are not a real thing. You lost. I really don't care if you went 1-2 against somebody. That's not a real thing. I'm not saying you can't be excited about it. I'm not saying that you can't, that it doesn't make a good story. Like, we all have an I almost got him story, right? That would be fun to share at a campfire at LTC. Like, you can be, man, we took a game off these guys. It would have been great if we beat them, but we came close. Like, that's fine. You're allowed to be excited about copium sets. They don't translate to a higher div for you. Think about it like this. And some of your bios I've been looking at, oh my Lord, 2/3 of some of your bios are just copium sets. Think about it. If you're trying to convince someone how good you are, and 1/3 of the way through your speech, you start talking about all the L's you've taken, you're a loser. You're going to get a lower div. You do not get bonus points for losing. You lost. You're not clutch enough to close things out. Tell me who you've actually beaten. Tell me what sets you've closed out with a dub. That holds way more weight than what a copium set does. I don't even know why those are a thing, to be honest with you. Number 2, do not put tournament placements in your bios by themselves. Tournament placements alone don't tell us anything, especially when the vast majority of tournaments you're telling us you won, none of us have ever heard of them before. Okay, you won. Grandma got run over by a reindeer cup. That's fantastic. Who did you beat in it? I am much more interested in who you beat specifically in the tournaments that you won, rather than you just put down, we got a gold medal and a Sindao badge that floats around for this weird dolphin tournament that we played in that one time. Okay, who did you actually beat in it? There were 11 tournaments that were on Sindao last week that had 10 teams or less. And I'm not saying if you won a 10-team tournament that poo-poo, that doesn't mean anything. No, it could. If there was solid 10 teams and you played like 4 teams in that 10-team tournament that were all high-caliber teams, that is noteworthy. That is something to be proud of. That is something that like you can put down and be like, I won this tournament and here's the teams that I beat. That will catch a seeding council member's attention. If you won a 6-team skill cap tournament, and that tournament is like Div 8 and below, that doesn't mean you're going to automatically get bumped up to Div 7. Who did you actually beat? That is infinitely more important than what placement that you got. You got to explain that and just hope people don't find who you actually beat. Because if you just put down, we won a tournament and no one's ever heard of it, you're not going to get much credit for that, or it's not going to really help your argument if you become a bubble team that could be in this division or might be bumped up to the next division. If you are banned / eligible for a tournament, that is also not a result. If you put Loic banned, okay, that might catch my eyes like, oh yeah, I might remember us banning that person. I don't have like a mental note of how all of you got banned. And also, just because you got banned from Low Ink doesn't mean you can't be put in Div 5 or Div 6. It all depends on how many people sign up. If Moonlight were to sign up, every single one of you is getting pushed down one division. It's going to happen. If another +1 level pickup, you're all going down one more spot. And more people just keep getting pushed down. There are 132 spots, I believe, for teams. Yeah, 132 spots for teams that are banned from low ink, Division X through 4. There are more than 132 teams that have been banned from low ink. If all of them sign up, we're going to get a low ink winner who's going to be in Div 5, and we're not going to let you back into low ink. It's just the nature of the beast with how things go. On the flip side, if you are going to tell us you're eligible for a tournament, we also don't care about that. Okay, the staff for that tournament says, our tournament has a skill floor, we're letting you in. Okay, cool. What sets have you actually won in that tournament? If you are level up eligible, but you do not put any results of what you do in level up, why are you even bothering telling us that? Like, what do you think? Like, what are we supposed to glean from that? Okay, their staff thinks you are good. Cool. There is nothing that says if you're banned from low ink that you're automatically mid-level or Div 4. There's nothing that says that. I would assume the same thing with level up as well, that if you're eligible for this, they don't send you a certificate that says, oh, we talked to LUTI staff. That means they're going to make you Div 4 as well automatically. That's not how any of that works. Again, you're banned from low ink. Tell us why you got banned from low ink. Like, what? Tell us the story of your sets that make us go, yeah, that makes sense. If you're eligible for level up, tell us what you've actually done in that tournament. Have you won a level up? It's got a skill floor, so if you play other teams and level up, you're going to get some good results. Who have you beaten in there? If you don't, it just kind of tells us you got the level up pat on the back and then you bounced and never touched that tournament, which is kind of cringe. But I see that as kind of a trend. The best thing you can do, if you want to get a good division, the best thing you can do is just play the damn game. That's all there is to it. Play the game. Get results. The seeding council will see it and tell us what the results are when you sign up. Here's the set this individual won. Don't tell us any copium. Don't tell us any eligibility, stuff like that. Who have you beaten? That's the only thing that matters. Nothing else matters. And every set counts. As long as the tournament's not a gimmick tournament or like some sort of 2v2 or 1v1 thing, LAN tournaments count as well. The whip raise, one of the arguments for the whip raise being moved up to Division 5 last season came down to what they accomplished at LTC. LANs do 100%. They do. Oh yes, Toasty. LANs 100% do count. I mean, they're real tournaments. It's an absolutely real tournament. But no, gimmick tournaments, none of that kind of matters. Skill floor tournaments, skill cap tournaments, yes, those all kind of play a factor into it as well. My point being with all this is this. This LUTI is a great opportunity for all of us to make content, to boost the greatness of what this community is about. If you care about this community, we need to take advantage of this LUTI season like we've never done so before. Like, there's so many opportunities to make content out of this. Why let it pass up? You don't know when you're going to get another LUTI again. It might take a little bit of time. Tournament, yes, LAN sets are hard to find. But if you pop off at a LAN and someone else notices it, it could take a factor into things. But again, it's like, who do you beat? Like, if you play at Big Dapple, you'll probably play against some strong teams in this. I haven't looked to see who's all playing at Big Dapple. Who do you actually beat? That kind of holds some weight there. We're going to open up the phone lines. We're going to let you come in, talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about LUTI related. That is in the IPL Discord server, the public server. There's a Popcast LUTI. I'm not going to ping everyone. Start this age. If you would like to come onto the Popcast and talk about anything Splatoon related or LUTI, join the VC, raise your hand, and we will call on you one at a time until it is time to put BJ to bed. While that is, phone lines are being warmed up, we are going to move ahead, talk about some other things that took place this weekend. It is time for the weekly recap. Paddling pool number 304 took place last Wednesday. It was won by Bonjour. Uprising took second place. Or actually, no. New took second place, and Uprising rounds out your top 3. 26 teams played in paddling pool number 304. And you're likely going to see that increase this upcoming week. The good thing about LUTI seeding month, I guess is what it is now, is that tournament participation increases a lot. Every single tournament you play in plays a factor into what kind of seed that you can get. Tournament results. Gimmick one. Fountain of Dreams took place on Thursday. It was won by Xiphias. I think I pronounced that one correctly. I know it's not Xiphias, but Xiphias. Dynasty took second place, and Dark Matter Allies rounds out your top 3. 20 teams played in this edition of Fountain and Dreams, and it's good to see a team that was threatening to win Low Ink but didn't in Xiphias actually find a way to win a tournament that is stronger than Low Ink, so shout outs to them. In the Zone number 41 took place on Saturday, and this was a stacked tournament. It was won by Gray's Pina. Black Lotus took second place, and Vacation rounds out your top 3. The team just squeaking into 4th place. Your fan favorite team and mine, Moonlight. This was a stacked event. And when you look at the standings, France as a whole dominated. Now, France didn't win the tournament, but if you look at the top 5 teams and you look at the flags of everybody represented, France is all over the place, including Gray, who is on the winning team with basically an FT win pickup. But in the Zone number 41, a lot of teams, a lot of notable teams playing in that one. It was cool to see. Squid Junction number 86 took place on Saturday night. It was won by the NFT Robbers. Honkai took second place, and Orca Balestra rounds out your top 3. It's good to see Orca Balestra. I remember they were playing in Low Ink, but they've been a team for a long time. 6 Squid Junction victories for the NFT Robbers. They're racking it up. And that was your weekly recap. Sponsored by the Cali land that took place this past weekend. What? I just forgot Cali was a thing. I didn't even know it was a thing. And then all of a sudden I see Chase talking about, I won it with Floxier. What? Why? When was this going on? How many teams played in it? What happened there? I don't know. So to make up for it, we'll make it the official sponsor of today's segment of the weekly recap. The Cali land revived from the dead. Hi, JoJo. You didn't come here assuming I talk about the Cali land, did you? Would be hilarious if you did. Okay, taking your calls. There's 4 people who have their hands raised. Before you get to that, Nell left a pre-taking your call question on Blue Sky, and I'll answer it right now. General question in case I can't. Yeah. Do you think it's more valuable for low-level players to play Speed Ladder or participate in Low Ink? Do you think the lack of low-level players in Speed Ladder will be considered by the Seeding Council's evaluation of overall team performance? The answer to that being obviously I am biased because I am the head TO for Low Ink, but I also am on the LUTI Seeding Council, but I'm not a part of LUTI or Speed Ladder or anything like that. Is playing whatever tournament you want to play in. I think there's a misconception that playing in LUTI Speed Ladder gives you bonus points. With the Seeding Council, it doesn't. And in all honesty, it's annoying because it's on start.gg, so it's more cumbersome for us to find that information versus everything else that's on Sindao. I would advise, if you're a team that's been stuck in alpha bracket for a while, like, you should be playing in Speed Ladder. Like, what is another 9th place finish in alpha bracket of Low Ink going to get you? But if you're any other Low Ink team, just play in Low Ink. Like, if you want to play teams that are better than you, you're going to find that in Low Ink. And that's an opportunity for you to get results. But there's no, like, playing in Speed Ladder, it's good because it's a lot of sets and it's an open tournament. But if you get a win in Speed Ladder, it doesn't count more than a win that you get in SOS or Squid Junction or in the zone. It's all about who do you beat. You'll get an opportunity to beat a lot of good teams in Speed Ladder, but you don't get bonus points for playing or beating teams in Speed Ladder. It's just a good way to get some quick results. But it's not. It doesn't hold weight than other tournaments, if that answers the question. Let's welcome Acing into the chat.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. It is actually nearly bedtime, but
Technically morning for you, so I was being correct.
Not quite. 20 minutes.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
Oh.
All right, what you got?
Firstly, hello. I have two things. One, LUTI being moved on Sendu is a very good thing, I think. However, it makes me scared that in future, seeding will become fully automatic, given that Sendu implements its own result system. Because then you'll also have Sendu power, and then you'll have sort of results and stuff. And you've already got the first stage of seeding being automatic being shown to you anyway, given that it's going based on Sendu power. So I'm wondering, would it be a good thing in future if it became a fully automatic thing, or should it remain a sort of seeding council?
It should always remain a seeding council. And again, the Sindao Q auto seeding isn't an exact science, and it isn't always true to reality. I mean, even if you look at Low Ink, it likes to put the recent LSL champion as the number 1 overall seed, and we're like, no, that's not how it's supposed to go. The value of it being on Sindao is that we get a rough draft, like we get a rough idea of what the divisions are look like. Then we can spend an entire week combing it and being like, no, this team is wrong. They're in the wrong spot. So it's never going to be automatic. No tournament that I'm aware of does seeding on. If there's any tournament that just goes off the Sindao auto seeding, they need to stop being a TO and go do something else with their life. You have to actually put forth some effort. But yeah, I would never. I'm not on LUTI staff, but I would be shocked if any LUTI staff member said, yeah, we're going to make it all 100% automatic someday. I think they'll keep the seeding council around until the sun explodes.
Do you think in future it might become like a predominant thing as opposed to like the seeding council does all of it? Do you think, let's say you let Sendu's the site do it first and then just tweak it later?
It would.
Or
it's so. As the years go on, as the months go on, more and more tournaments are brought on to Sindao. More important people are playing Sindao Q. Like our world is revolving around Sindao. And Sindao is the most important person in the community. There's no one that's even close at this point. Like, he's basically the god of the community, whether you like it or not. I think with that being said, I think the auto seeding is going to get better over time. I think it's going to get more precise, but again, it's never going to be, you signed up, it said you're number 2, you're going to stay at number 2. Like, every TO still has to, and it's a bit of a lost art, but every TO still has to seed their own tournament because they're the ones that sign off on it. If you get a seed that you don't like when the tournament starts, that's on the TO, not the seeding site. Now, if you go to help desk and complain about your seed before the tournament starts, you're the moron, which we get that every now and then. And it's like, bro, the tournament hasn't even started yet. Like, we're going to fix a lot of this stuff. So I see the auto seeding getting more precise as time goes on, but I never see it being a fully automatic thing because the TO is always going to be the one who has to sign off on everything and will always be the one who should be looked at if something's kind of weird.
Okay, that answers it. My second question you also answered, so
let's go 2 for 2.
Thank you. Thanks
well,
for having
me on. Enjoy Tuesday 15 minutes from now. Are you playing this season?
I haven't got a team because I haven't played properly comp for a few months now, but I'm planning on being a sub, ideally.
Does no one want to play with you because you do eat Luna Blaster?
Probably. But
Has anyone reached out and said, hey, I'd love to have you play, but instead of Luna Blaster, can you just do Splattershot?
I haven't had anyone reach out to me at all,
Oh,
which is
great.
even worse. But I mean, I'm okay with it. I haven't really got the time for this season, so I'd rather just be a sub if possible.
Fair enough. Well, good luck with
All right.
that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Always enjoy having a scene on. One divided by two is half. Apparently a Timberwolves fan. How's it going?
I don't know. We played tonight, so that's cool.
what, what do you got?
So it's actually a kind of personal question for you. Well, I guess every question is personal,
Okay.
but so I want to ask you, what's your over the years, what's been your favorite part of seeding and least favorite part of seeding?
Uh, on the spot. Um, my least favorite part of seeding is how much time it takes to get through. I mean, you went through it last year. Just
Hmm.
it seems like it takes 5 or so days just to put all of your own personal divisions together. And then it's just like, okay, this is by the time you get to like division 10 or 9, you're just so drained and you're just seeing like my least favorite thing was the year where I was seeding teams in my sleep. And I was like, okay, this is not fun. Like if I'm dreaming about seeding teams in LUTI, that's where I need to make some changes here in my personal life. My favorite part of seeding is just talking with the other seeders. Everybody sees the community differently. Everybody sees teams differently. Everyone sees like individual results differently. It's basically just getting into a room with a bunch of people that are as passionate about numbers as you are. Um, and I enjoy those kind of conversations. So that would be my favorite part of the seating council.
And I guess one thing to tie into this is like when you let's just say I guess a lot of people complain about they're underseeded. So when you when you quote unquote underseed a team and then they say something about it and then they underperform your underseeding or they just don't do as well as they thought they would, does that make you sort of happy or like just like I don't
I There's so many teams that complain about underseeding that I don't keep receipts.
know?
Do you remember a couple seasons ago, Bronze did? Bronze kept receipts of everyone who complained and like fault. Like, here's what this team actually did, and like two of them actually did good, and the other did like horrible. Um, I mean, I've been doing seeding. This will be my fifth, sixth season, something like that. Roundy Pari's been doing it for such a long time. Um, that I've just learned not to care. I mean, I get it. I get it every month. I get people, oh, well, you let a level up person play in low ink, or like, oh, why did this person not get banned from low ink? Like, we get people complaining about stuff constantly that I'm just like, look, I understand you're upset, but most of the time we're right, so just trust us on that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't keep receipts, but it so yeah, I if anyone complains about it, I see it in the moment and then I just completely forget about them because they lose and losing is means you're not relevant. So I don't really focus on that.
True, honestly. Yeah. Okay, that's all I had. I don't know. I'm worried about the Timberwolves, so I've been
What about you? Do you keep receipts? Do you kind of
well, okay. So I've been on like I'm a freshman. I just started freshman in college. So that's been a transition. So it's been a
okay?
lot more like busy. I I seeded as like I guess my winter break. I seeded like once and helped staff it. And I remember one time. So I've not been like as active in the community as I have over like summer and previous years. So I saw a team maybe. I don't know who they are. I don't really know any of the names. I'll look at results. I'll like, oh, some of these are good. Like I know some of these. So I'll see them like maybe like 10, 11, 9 based on like Sendu.
Right.
And then I remember they complained to someone in like head TO like, hey, we should be seed higher because we won like level up. I think it was the term like last week. And I was like, okay, I don't know. The tournament was like had maybe one or two good teams, I guess. So I guess I moved. I think I we moved them up to like the fifth seed, and I think they made Hammerhead as the fifth seed. So I don't know. That was just like a. I'm not saying this team's bad, but I'm like maybe once everyone has a good day,
Yeah,
like like when the Chicago Bears win, it's most of the time it's not because they're good, it's because the other team just sucked.
yeah.
So
It wasn't their preseason ranking that had a factor in any of
no,
that. And you could seed perfectly. Like you could, if you had 20-team tournament, you could theoretically seed everybody as perfect as they should be. You as the TO still can't hold their hand and make them play to their seed. Like that's like maybe they were the true number 5 seed. Maybe you even got it right, but that doesn't mean that maybe they just didn't play like it, kind of like you said. And then it's on. Nobody believed in us because we beat this other team, and it's like I never believed in any of you. I'm sorry.
but it's also I feel like for example, I think a matchup that gets like a lot of attention is the 1 versus 8, because the one
Yeah,
seed will be like a bunch of players. Like if that one seed just like if it's a best of 3, that one seed could just have 2 really bad games, and the 8 seed could have really good games in there. And like if it's like Brine Water Springs Blast Zones, and the 8 seed has a leader or a good pencil player, you could just like mow down on the one seed based on comps. So I feel like it's also just like it all depends on honestly how good the higher seeds play and how much adrenaline the lower seeds get from playing higher seeds and wanting that upset as well.
the hunter versus the hunted. There's always a story behind the score of the final set there. Uh, what
Exactly.
what what major? Do you have a major in mind, or you just kind of
Uh, I am currently, technically, I do have to go to grad school, so it's 7 years, but looking at physical therapy. So I'm
okay?
pre-PT right now. So yeah, so it's like kinesiology, sports management, but like once I get into grad school, it'll be physical therapy.
Perfect. By the time you get out of grad school, I won't have a back anymore, and you can help me with that. Sounds
Mm.
great.
I think I might have it back as well. So we'll see.
All right, Half. We'll check in with you over the course of the week.
Yes, yeah.
All right, comrade.
Hello.
Hello. Is that a piranha plant smoking a cigarette? Is your
No,
okay?
no, it's just a Venus flytrap. I
Oh,
was bored, so I did something new.
you know what? Sometimes you just got to mix it up. I understand it. What
Yeah.
you got for me?
So like everything that I'm gonna be doing in the next month is happening on the same weekend. Low Ink, LUTI, CCA, um,
Uh huh.
Gatorland.
Gatorland.
So
Let's go.
the goal is I'm gonna go to Gatorland. I'm gonna sit at the back, and I'm gonna be playing Low Ink at the same time. So I'm gonna be doing Low Ink set, finishing that set, going to do my Gatorland set, and then waiting, and then doing a Low Ink set, etc., etc.
You
While
know,
signing up.
in all seriousness, you could probably do speed ladder like that. The cool thing about speed ladder is you play at your own pace, and I don't know about Gatorland, but most lands I've been to, the wait in between sets can get a little lengthy, especially if your set ended early and somebody else goes to a game 5. You might legit be able to play speed ladder at Gatorland, unironically. So that's the
This
thing.
is awesome. I'll be able to play 3 tournaments at once.
have you have you been to Gatorland before?
Oh yeah, I went last time. I was on
Okay.
stream for like 2 seconds, but I got like a quad, so life was good.
What could you give us a very brief synopsis of what Gatorland is about? I've never seen it. I've obviously never been to it. Sell us on Gatorland.
So basically, Gatorland's just a whole bunch of games. The first time I went, I played Overwatch for my school. We did pretty shit, but I was on stream and they were really happy with my gameplay. And then the next semester, which was in the fall, I played for Splatoon, and I didn't even play for my school. I did a pickup for UCF because it's funny. And basically, we all got into like the Senate chambers, and we just kind of watched like USF with Haya and UF with like a bunch of other players because they got like a gajillion DivX players. And it was like, oh yeah, it's that kid versus UCF Knights. Who's gonna win? I'm that kid. But when I walked in, I got a little card saying "Thank you for coming," and it has a little shark eating a squid on the back of it. So free, free card.
Nicely done there, and I'm glad you name dropped Haya because
Yes.
Haya's a good little buddy for me. Not little, he's much taller than me, but good. Yeah. All right.
But
Well,
yeah.
enjoy Tournament-geddon in a couple of weekends for there.
Thank you, Popgun.
Gatorland, Big Dapple too. No, Big Dapple happening this weekend. Gatorland next weekend. I guess you could go to both. Hammy of the current, as of today, Division One Los Inklings. What you got?
Yeah, I'm glad we finally got Div 1. I'm really excited. We're working hard for it for sure.
Yeah, have fun when the group stage start. We'll see how that goes, but you never know.
If we were to take one single game, not even a set, just a game in Div 1, could I result that?
No. Did you not just hear
Okay.
my rant about copium?
Well, that's why I heard your rant. That's why I was asking: is that a good enough result to be a copium, or is there no copium in your eyes?
It's a good enough result to where if we're at a campfire and you're telling ghost stories, that's a good story to tell. Oh, we took a game off a Div 1 team one time. You can't put it in your bio. That's against the rules.
Okay, the rules that you've set. I got it. Anyway, yeah, I don't have a specific question technically, because I was going to talk about how this LUTI season is at a perfect time for getting invested in the scene and making content, but you already talked about that earlier, so it kind of ruined any questions or topics I had. But I did want to echo it because this season is very important with all the discussions that's been on Blue Sky. It's a great opportunity for everyone to start investing in themselves, investing in others, in making a lot of cool stuff surrounding the scene and the players in it. So I'm just really excited to see what people are going to bring, and I'm really hoping that people are going to start actively participating, because I think an issue is a lot of people. You said earlier, only 13% of teams dropped last LUTI season.
Correct.
But a lot of that 87% are just playing their matches and that's it. They're not watching LUTI tonight. They're not watching streams. They're not streaming themselves, and aren't investing more in the scene. And they're not giving more than what they're taking.
So viewership for Low Ink on day one. I'm assuming the vast majority of that is just people that are playing in Low Ink and they're just throwing up the stream. Like I don't envision there's 100 people sitting on their couch getting a cup of coffee and like, oh, good, these two teams I've never heard of, a Swiss stage, are playing a Low Ink. Honey, come in here. Let's watch this for 30 minutes with each other. With LUTI tonight, though, that's all they're doing. Like, all the viewers for LUTI tonight are just like sitting and watching. And maybe they're playing their LUTI sets and they just want to keep an eye on it, but it is more of a show match. It's more content than what like a typical tournament is just kind of throwing out there with just, here's the match of the round kind of thing. So yeah, there's stuff to do with that as well. But yeah, I mean, you're right, and obviously I would agree with you because I said it myself. But yeah, this is a great opportunity to make some content. So if anybody was to be like, well, dude said we should do this, but I don't know what to do, you got a whole 2 months of something everybody is interested in to take advantage of it. So the question is, Hammy, what are you going to be creating this month? What content are you creating?
Me personally, I would love to make a LUTI recap like weekly, but that is a large undertaking, as I believe there were how many 100 teams last LUTI season.
Yeah.
So it would be a lot of research, maybe kind of pull some friends in with that to kind of congregate all that information and make it into something that is not like 2 hours long every week. So I would love to do some kind of recap. And of course I want to participate in any fantasy or like fantasy brackets that people are going to make. And of course I'm going to be commentating with LUTI tonight, of course, unless Falco fires me before then. So yeah, that's what I would love to make, but I want to see if other people can come up with a lot of cool ideas and do a bunch of stuff. And please watch LUTI matches. Some of the best matches I've ever commentated have been LUTI tonight sets. Because there's such long sets, you get to learn so much about the teams in such a short amount of time. It doesn't matter if you've never heard of the teams before, because in some of those games go right to game point or set point. So you learn a lot about those players in a short amount of time, and it's a great way to meet a lot of new players.
LUTI sets are fun. They're definitely fun. I mean, it's a long season. It's hard to stay invested. Sometimes people tune in at the grand finals of all the divisions. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of storylines there. I've just in this conversation, I've had some ideas, but I don't want to leak them because I'm or spoil them because I might do them myself. All right, Hammy. Thanks. I didn't do anything yucky, so you can't clip me this time when you came on.
I will be clipping you calling us Div 1, though, so I got that.
Fair enough. Copium sets incoming right there with that. Toasty, one of the head TOs of LUTI and the main person who's been creating all kinds of magical stuff for the seating council to make life easier. Hi, Toasty.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Well, I just wanted to talk about that automatic seating that Acing recently brought up. So I just wanted to share that that's like an ongoing calculation on the back end of Sender.inc. So it's basically just taking any sort of ranked matches that you have, whether it be SendoQ or other tournaments, and adding that into the overall ranking system. So that's doesn't really affect your like current power that you'd see in SendoQ because that varies from season to season and does actually and fully reset. But the seeding power is ongoing. It never resets after the end of the season, and it's attached per player. And there's also a separate unranked seeding power. So for unranked tournaments like low ink and whatnot, they have their own power, which is why when we're looking at like the seeding sheet and whatnot, some of the lower level teams may not have a more accurate seeding power. It's because they haven't played either ranked tournaments or enough SendoQ to get like a more accurate power for where they'd be, which is why both would be listed on there.
So I've brought up this point before about how an LSL champion was auto-seeded number 1 in low ink. Now, obviously, we like corrected it before the tournament started, but I was always like, why did it put it up there? LSL, but the seeding, the send-out bot or seeder or whatever doesn't take skill cap divisions into account. It's just saying, oh, this team won an unranked tournament that had a lot of teams in it. It's obviously the best team. So there's a separate hidden unranked score that you're saying exists.
They're both hidden from like the player view because it's only seen on the seeding like list itself, even though TOs don't actually see that power. But a tournament like LSL would be winning like, I don't know, 10 unranked matches in a row. Right. So you'll get like power, like a lot of extra unranked power because of that, which is why they typically end up being seeded so high, is because of that power. And because there are only so many unranked tournaments, that power accuracy can get really finicky because the sample size isn't like significant enough for the major part of the community, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, it makes more sense than what I was just thinking, which was absolutely nothing. So yeah, that answers some of my personal low ink questions. How are you feeling going into this LUTI season?
Good. Working on getting everything integrated into Sender.inc over the past few months was a bit of a challenge, just logistically trying to figure out how we're going to run the seeding sheet and everything else, because I had set that up last season to rely on Google Sheets, but I worked my butt off and we were able to work, thankfully, with Sender's wonderful platform. It's been amazing to be able to give feedback directly on what we need and what else is needed for the community on that kind of platform. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how we can develop the league side of that platform in the future, and hopefully we don't even need like Google Forms in the future to get some of these results, but I think we still will. We'll see.
Well, you never know. It's for people with bigger brains than me. I just do whatever you guys tell me to do, but I for one am very much looking forward to the adjustments being made to seeding this season. All right, Toasty. Well, thanks for coming on and giving us that information. And try not to burn yourself out this next 2 months, all right?
Thank you. And best of luck to everyone out there.
They're going to need it. Who's not going to need it is the commentator, world-renowned commentator, Keon.
I didn't realize I hit up to world-renowned so quickly.
Well, yeah, why not? I mean, the whole world revolves around North America competitive Splatoon, as far as I'm concerned. Mine does.
Well, that's also certainly true. We're gonna make a few quick statements, and then of course the question. LUTI on Sendu is awesome, for the record, because one of the things that I try to pride myself on, and especially for the commentators that are doing LUTI tonight's sets this past season, was information, because we kind of need team records, trying to see how everybody performed. With the addition of LUTI on Sendu, it makes it easier for us to get, weapons that players might lean towards, or their role on the team, which I feel like that move is awesome. On the flip side, though, Popgun, with the move to Sendu, do you want to hear your take? Do you think we'll somehow see less teams because of the platform change, or is it like we should probably see some, or do you think it's not going to be as relevant versus when we were still stuck in challenge land?
I don't know what to expect. I mean, last LUTI season, I was like, oh, for sure, we're not going to get as many teams as the 600 we did before, and then we did. If I would assume the number would fall off just because the game's getting older. To what number, I have no idea. And what's tricky is just kind of coming to an understanding of, if the number does fall off, what would you point the finger to? I feel like there's so many other things you could point the finger to before you get to the Sindao site. But no, I don't think the Sindao site's gonna be a culprit in any of this. I think if anything, it's just gonna help boost the tournament, give it more credibility. If you want to look up, and you were kind of alluding to this, but if you want to look up like past LUTI seasons, you have to really know how to work challenge. And even when you know how to do that, you know what teams did what in what season. You don't know who was on that team or who got transferred onto that team or taken off. You can only see a team name. And if you didn't know who played for that team name, you're just not going to find it out. For future 10 years down the line, when people go back and look at season 16, they'll be able to see all the information about it. It'll make it a lot easier going forward in the future. So that's another kind of huge positive for the site itself and for LUTI.
That's kind of what I figured would be the approach here, is whether people are just kind of flaming out from Splatoon 3 as a whole, or just totally a bunch of different factors there. So yeah, that was kind of my thing. And the last question I was going to ask before I have to head somewhere is, how often has Zine Council ran into teams that put scrim results just out of sheer curiosity?
And oh my gosh, I checked this morning. There are 4 teams that have signed up for LUTI this season that did legitimately put scrim results down in some of their results. Now there's 170, so like 4 out of 170. And look, I get it. If you're new to competitive and like you haven't played a lot of tournaments, like I get putting down scrim results. I totally understand people being new but for those of us that's been around for a while, it's like, wait, if you just stop and think about it, we're talking about practice. You're talking to us about practice, man. Not a tournament set that I go out there and die for. We're talking about practice. That's So that's a thing. Scrim results are definitely a thing.
I figured, but again, it just boggles my mind about it for a couple of moments, and then it started clicking, and it was like, oh, actually, I guess if you don't have anything to work off of, you just need to give, the Scene Council baseline. That's kind of what my thought was.
There's so many times in Low Ink where we get a question that's like, well, this is the dumbest question I think I've ever seen. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. This person's legitimately new. Like they genuinely don't understand. And you got to answer their question without coming across as like a jackass kind of thing. You got to be understanding when you answer that question. It's like, well, here's how things actually work. Or like when people come to Low Ink help desk and be like, how do I find out what div I am? And it's like, okay, I'll explain it to you because you just don't understand. It's understandable with that. All right, Keon.
No, that's really all I had, and I'm glad to know that from the podcast there's a fellow Timberwolves fan in my midst, and I need to talk with them now.
All two of you.
Small world.
There you go. Well, enjoy Cat while you have, and might get traded away for a second rounder or something by the end of the deadline.
No, we already traded Cat earlier in the season. It made the Doncic trade made us look like geniuses in comparison. I don't know how that's possible.
Well, you did give away like 20 first-round picks for Gobert. I mean, that was like a third of what Luca was worth, apparently. So you got no room to move. All right, Keon, get out of here.
All right, I'm out of here. See, thanks.
One more, Kara, coming into the podcast with
Hi,
a
Popgun.
Snoopy, a little Snoopy. I got a
That's my
Snoopy
guy.
blanket on right now. That's cool. What you got?
I don't know. I kind of just wanted to join.
Okay.
I think that this season is gonna be good because there's been like a lot of people like in Plus Server and such trying to like form pickups. So I think it's a good season to like make content, and it's just gonna be like a lot of good teams this time.
Are you going to be playing this season?
Probably.
What division are you hoping for if you were to play?
Well, I know for a fact I'm getting DivX.
Okay.
Because I've had it for like the last 2 seasons, and I've gotten 4th both times. So it's like, I think that secures my spot.
Have you ever said the phrase "I won a scrim"?
Do you want me to?
No, I don't
Oh.
want you to. It's just the topic of that we just left off of there. Okay.
Maybe like 3 years ago.
Kara, good luck in DivX if you were to sign up with that, and make some content.
you,
Why
Popgun.
not? You're welcome. There we go.
I think I will.
Little Snoopy logo right there. Got to be happy about that. All right, that's the end of the podcast. It's time for PJ to go to bed. We're going to leave the stage, disconnect quietly. Is that all that we do right there? That is all that we do right there. If you'd like to be a part of the Moonlight, just signed up. Oh, half was capping. Why did I read that out loud? Both of you suck. If you'd like to be a part of the Popcast in any way, feel free to reach out at my socials below. Blue Sky at Popgun, or Twitch at Popgun25, YouTube 25 Popgun, Discord at Popgun. We'll see if we can get somebody on for Bidapple next week and maybe talk about Little Squid League. Sign up for LUTI, sign up for Low Inks. If you don't want to play in Low Inks, sign up for Speed Ladder. It's all good and fun. Make sure you wear a mask, stay safe, get vaccinated, and try not to die. And don't buy American, apparently. No, I'm not answering that. That's a spam risk.